Welcome back to Notes Edition, where I read notes off of my phone. Today's note is called difficulty adjustment. So today's topic is a little bit technical, but stick with me and I think you'll start to catch on. Today we're going to discuss the Bitcoin block reward difficulty adjustment and how such a boring sounding concept is actually pretty mind-blowing, and more importantly, how you stand to benefit. In short, difficulty adjustment is one of the key features keeping Bitcoin's ecosystem intact, maintaining a stable supply of Bitcoin distribution every 10 minutes. Before we unpack the basics, let's set the stage with an example of supply and demand for an asset like real estate. When housing prices increase, builders are often incentivized to construct more houses, adding to real estate market supply to meet that increased demand. As people buy up these new houses, that portion of demand is temporarily satisfied and price may start to level out given monetary inflation is constant. If the builders continue to build long after demand is satisfied, the extra supply on the market may cause the price to stabilize or even drop. In this scenario, the profit margin for construction evaporates, diminishing any financial incentive to keep building more houses until new buyers re-enter the housing market, bidding up house prices high enough to expand the profit margin to allow for more new construction. Think about this as it relates to Bitcoin. There's an algorithmic mechanism within Bitcoin mining called difficulty adjustment. Every 10 minutes, 3.125 Bitcoin are awarded at random to one lucky Bitcoin miner, the term for someone who voluntarily provides computational power needed to process Bitcoin transactions within the global network of Bitcoin servers. So we can kind of think of this like Visa running massive servers to process millions of Visa transactions over the internet. When Bitcoin price increases, more Bitcoin processors or miners are incentivized to compete for these Bitcoin block rewards, just like our home builders are motivated to build more houses as demand increases. The key difference is that there's no hard cap as to how many houses can be added to the housing market. So theoretically, an oversupply is always possible. The supply of new homes isn't entirely predictable because it is heavily influenced by demand. The Bitcoin protocol, however, has a hard cap of 3.125 new Bitcoin every 10 minutes. Regardless of how many miners are competing. The difficulty adjustment algorithm automatically makes Bitcoin harder to mine as the number of mining rigs increases, and then easier to mine as miners give up and leave the network. Think of it like a massive cherry pie. If 4 people want an equal slice, they can each have a quarter portion of that pie. If 10 people want an equal slice, but there's no way to make more pie, everyone is competing for a smaller slice. Now, if 100 people want a slice, the relative scarcity might cause the price to increase dramatically. When the supply is fixed, any increase in demand leads to price increases. With Bitcoin, adding any additional mining effort to meet increased demand does not add to the supply, except for that stable block reward of 3.125 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. No matter how many people are competing for the Bitcoin reward, the release mechanism automatically adjusts the difficulty to take roughly 10 minutes. At which point the Bitcoin reward is automatically given out to one lucky winner and the competition starts from scratch. If the race to win this new batch of Bitcoin takes longer than 10 minutes, the algorithm automatically adjusts to make the next competition block easy enough to win within 10 minutes. Conversely, if a competition takes less than 10 minutes to win, the algorithm automatically adjusts to make the next round slightly harder. The idea is that by continually fine-tuning the difficulty, the Bitcoin protocol can achieve a predictably stable inflation rate, regardless of how many servers are competing to hack the network for financial gain. This algorithmic component is one of the strongest, most innovative pillars of Bitcoin, driving its increased valuation, adoption, and security. What's more, that stable supply increase of 3.125 Bitcoin every 10 minutes will only remain constant for the next few years. In 2028, the fifth Bitcoin halving event will cut the block reward to miners in half, meaning as more people demand Bitcoin, more miners are incentivized to compete for Bitcoin. Yet every 4 years, only half the amount of new supply is distributed. Now double or triple the amount of people are hungry for a piece of that cherry pie, only now the pie is cut in half. This creates incredibly deflationary pressure on the ecosystem, and every previous halving event has been followed by exponential increases in price and adoption. Difficulty adjustment locks in a predictable inflation rate regardless of demand. So how do you stand to benefit? If you're anything like me, trying to mine Bitcoin sounds way too technical. At first glance, the difficulty adjustment feature holds little value. And yet, because this feature maintains a fixed supply rate over the next few years, it can help me analyze future demand as well as the potential for Bitcoin's price. If I'm expecting Bitcoin adoption to increase and the inflation rate of dollars keeps increasing, then it's reasonable to assume that Bitcoin will continue to increase over the long term given its stable supply. If you only build 3 homes every 10 minutes, but the demand for homes keeps growing, the supply-demand curve eventually explodes higher. The value for homes is backed by a demand for a place to live, while the value of Bitcoin is backed by the demand for digital money with a stable supply. The demand for money that holds its value against a depreciating dollar. Now that we understand how difficulty adjustment secures Bitcoin's economic model, we can start to make predictions about how this relationship between supply and demand will affect Bitcoin price moving forward. Understanding the mechanisms behind Bitcoin's code can help us make risk-adjusted investment decisions in order to stave off inflation, which is a form of monetary starvation. And that's today's note.